Hey Albuquerque, my name is Liz Keller. I am honored to serve as the First Lady of Albuquerque, and I'm excited to be here with all of you today for this virtual conversation. I have to tell you right up front, I've never done anything like this before, but I figure since we're all learning how to do new things this week, we'd give this a try as well. So before we jump into the questions that you all submitted, I just wanted to start with a couple of thank yous. First off, thank you to everybody who is stepping up by staying home and maintaining physical distance. As you all know by now, while this may feel hard or awkward, this is one of the greatest acts of service, of solidarity, and of love that we can show right now to take care of each other in our community. Second, I just wanted to thank all of the frontline folks around our community. These are grocery store workers, truck drivers, first responders, healthcare workers, all of who are stepping up in extraordinary ways right now to take care of our city and make sure that our most vulnerable populations have the resources that they need. Finally, I wanted to thank folks who are also working on collaborative efforts all over the city and the state to make sure that we meet this moment with the strength and the compassion and the resilience that our community is known for, so that we're not just prepared for the week to come, but that we are prepared for the rebound and the recovery in the months and years ahead. And then, of course, finally, I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for the questions, and I've got to say we are very excited to have Alicia Manzano joining us here to bring some of your questions into the room. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you so much, First Lady. So I want to begin by just thanking you and the mayor for stepping up in huge ways for our community during this extremely difficult time. You all have been so encouraging and informative, and we're just very appreciative for all that you're doing. And I think a lot of people are really curious to hear your insights. So many people are working from home right now. They're balancing the kids, they're juggling jobs, they're trying to figure out this new way of life, and you are no different. And so I'm so glad that you're here today so we can share some of your insights with the public about how you're juggling all of those things as well. So we have first question coming from Gloria in the North Valley. I know that there are shortages of blood donors, but is it really safe to go out to a blood bank right now?
It's a great question. And so first off, we want to mention again, and just as a constant reminder to folks, the most important thing you can do right now is to be able to stay home and do this physical distance. But as I think Gloria's question notes, we do have a blood shortage in our community. And what that means is that if you are healthy and you are able to donate blood, this is an incredible time to be able to step up and do that for our community to address the shortages locally and also nationwide. Now, I'll say for me personally, I have always been squeamish about needles. But I went in last week to be a first-time blood donor, and it was incredible. The team at Vitalant had the entire facility set up to maintain the physical distance that's necessary to keep everybody safe right now. And I've got to say, as a working parent of young kids, I got 30 minutes to sit by myself and eat snacks in what is now sort of feels like a luxurious vacation in this moment. So we'll be posting the number that folks can call to be able to donate. But if you head to bloodhero.com, you'll be able to get more information about whether or not you're an eligible donor and how to sign up to make an appointment so that you can do that as well if you're able.
Now, we've had a lot of people who are trying to figure out ways to help, ways to give, and we know that monetary donations are super important in this time. But this question comes from Sean from Nob Hill and from Mary, and they're wondering, are there any other ways that they can help other than giving money?
Absolutely. So that is a great question and a really important one. We may come back to the monetary donations later, but we also know that there are a lot of folks who want to be able to give their time and energy in a way for the community. Again, I may sound like a broken record on this, but first know that staying home and maintaining this physical distance is in and of itself right now an incredible act of service. So as you're doing that, please know and keep that that in mind. But I will say that we also have opportunities for folks who are healthy, who are not feeling any of the symptoms of COVID-19, to be able to step up in the community. The best place for you to go and get resources about some of those opportunities is to visit the website at cabq.gov/abq-volunteers. This will link you to a site that includes volunteer opportunities with some of the city-run initiatives, as well as volunteer opportunities with community partners throughout Albuquerque. There include opportunities there where you can volunteer or support some of these organizations without ever leaving your home. So please check that out, and we'll do our best to continue to highlight those opportunities in the week to come.
So First Lady, this is sort of a tricky one, right? We're always wanting to ask folks for their help and donations, especially in times of crisis, but this is a unique situation. So this question comes from Joy in Northeast Heights. Joy would like to know if there are any clothing donation centers or electronic donation or recycle centers currently open.
Great. Joy, that's an amazing question. And I know one of the things that sort of strikes me and energizes me in this moment is constantly hearing from folks like you that are wondering, how can we do more? How can we reach out and support folks who may be less fortunate than we are? So let me take each of these in turn, and then I'll mention some other opportunities. The first piece is on clothing donations. So at this moment, lots of the organizations that accept clothing donations have had to put a pause on that process. We encourage folks who have more time on their hands to be cleaning out their houses and cleaning out their closets. Please round up those donations, hold on to them so they're ready to go when we're able to reactivate those systems. I do also want to mention that we maintain clothing banks for folks who may need clothing at each of the city's 4 health and social services centers. So if you or someone you know needs access to clothes for you or a family member, we do have places where you can go and access those resources. Now, the second piece, I think, was about the electronics donations. We know this is front and center on everyone's minds about how to potentially support families that are moving into distance learning or trying to work from home but may not have access to the electronics. One of the links that we'll be sharing, and a good spot to send some of this, is to the Wilson School drive. And Alicia, do you have the information on that?
We can also send that information out via the 311 number, so it's best to always call 311 if you have questions around that, but we
And then if folks are interested in making monetary donations, we've got information as well for how to do that through onealbuquerque.org. These are funds that have been able to mobilize quickly to ensure that folks have and can maintain stable housing during this crisis, and are there to step up and fill some of the gaps in our communities. So again, with great appreciation for all of the folks who are asking what they can do and how to support others in this moment.
Thank you for that great information. In addition, there was a thought about recycling centers, and yes, our recycling centers are open to the management department, but of course everyone is practicing social distancing there, so just be patient as you go out there, as we are encouraging folks to still practice social distancing at our recycling centers as well. So now let's get into it. It's life at home. How is this looking so far? Nicole has this question. Nicole would like to know, she said she's been able to work from home since this all started. But as I imagine, you know, having young children at home makes the work part difficult sometimes. How are you managing that balance?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And first off, Nicole, thank you for what you're doing. Hang in there. This is hard. It's really hard. And I think for me, the word balance isn't sort of conjures up more grace or coordination than what comes to mind at the moment. Juggling and sort of being an amateur juggler is probably a little bit more apt for the moment. And so what I will share right off the bat is it feels funny to sharing advice feels wrong in this moment because we are all trying to figure this out with really different circumstances in the best way that we can. So I will share some of my experience, which is first acknowledging that it's been a process of trial and error adaptation to try to figure out things that work for me, that work for my family, that work for my colleagues. So a couple of things that I will mention, and there's three of them. The first has been using schedules in a way that's helpful. This includes sort of managing my schedule at work. Like you, Nicole, I'm very fortunate to have work that I can do from home. But managing my schedule with work and my schedule with the kids in a way that helps people's expectations. It took me a while to calibrate, but I had to be able to say to my colleagues, look, I can be available for meetings about maybe 3 to 4 hours a day, letting them know what those windows were and letting the kids know then each morning the windows when I had to on the weekends and on a Sunday afternoon when Tim can be with the kids and I can get a longer spell and some hours
Alexa. And go ahead.
Well, thank you for sticking with us through the technical difficulties.
Not to worry, man. This is just going to be a month of technical difficulties. We just want folks to think that, technical glitches and whatever work meetings aren't just for weekdays anymore. So
true.
We've got it. We'll all survive.
Yeah, we've had how many Zoom meetings that have been either, I can't hear you, I can't see you, and so,
You're at least all fortunate that I'm not in charge of my own mute button, which, after weeks of this, I still can't seem to get right. So this is better.
So we'll continue on, First Lady. Sorry for the little hiccup there. We're going to go to the second part of the question of working from home, and this has more to do around with what you're doing with the kids. So how are you keeping the kids busy and making sure that they are learning?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think, the first up headline is lots more screen time. We normally, would keep what the kids watch to a couple of episodes over the weekend. They are in love with the PBS show Molly of Denali. And we've gone from sort of a normal status where they would watch a couple episodes on the weekend to now what I'm fairly confident they will come out of this having memorized every single word of every single episode of that show. But it is a great one. They'll take that and then run outside and recreate pieces of that. So if any of you have kids that are similar ages to ours, which are 4 and 6, it's a fabulous show for those ages. The other piece I already mentioned, not sure if it cut out or not, for us that has been really important is starting and ending each day with long walks along the irrigation ditch or down to the bosque, which for us has been part of a wider process of sort of reframing learning in a wider lens. I won't say what we've done sort of really looks like any sort of semblance of homeschooling, but it has been a process, right, of learning the kinds of ducks that we see in the ditch and the names of flowers around the neighborhood. Maya learned how to ride a pedal bike for the first time because we had lots more time to be outside. And so it's appreciating a wider set of learning. The kids spend a lot more time helping me prep meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In a course I sort of jokingly referred to as mastering the microwave because I'm not a particularly skilled cook myself. But it has been fun to see them be able to do this in addition to pieces that Maya at 6 still loves doing math worksheets. She loves reading books in Spanish and writing in her journal and those sorts of pieces. But for us, it meant, again, taking a wider view of what learning looked like. I will say it also means leaning on others. I have been tired like never before these last couple of weeks. So it was great to get videos from the kids' cousins where they would be reading them books or teaching them how to draw something that I could, prop up and close my eyes for a second while they were still being read to. We've loved looking up some of their favorite authors who are reading their books aloud to them on YouTube or teaching them how to draw. And we're really excited that NMPBS and APS are teaming up and that starting next week, they'll have a chance to tune in to some of their lessons and see what that looks like in the morning. But I think all of those pieces, again, have required us being gentle with each other. The one last piece I'll add in terms of learning that has been great and energizing for us all has been framing a lot of the learning around gratitude. And taking some moments to be thankful both for the folks all over the city who are stepping up and doing different jobs at this moment, but also getting in the habit of practicing gratitude with each other. So taking moments at the end of the day to say what we're thankful for, grateful for, but pausing to thank them for little things. Maya thanking her brother for helping her, lift her bike up when she needed to. Those sorts of things which have been helpful for us to make sure that we're saving those reserves of gratitude, both for everything that's happening in the world around us and also each other for the great things that are happening at home.
It also has been so encouraging to see folks making signs of gratitude to doctors and nurses and trash collection drivers. I mean, I don't know your little ones, but my little one loves to see the garbage truck. She thinks it's really cool, and it's like the one piece of entertainment I think she's still getting once a week of something cool and big. And so we've been talking about, hey, we should post some signs out on our fence so the trash collection drivers can see how much they're appreciated doing this essential work during this time too. So.
Yeah, we've loved it. And the kids just made simple signs. One of them was written with sidewalk chalk, right, intended in particular for the mail carriers who were coming up the walkway. They also we're fortunate to have yard signs in the garage, so they got construction paper and taped and glued and colored and glittered and glued some more on that and put it out special for Trash Day. Our guys love nothing more than running around the neighborhood on Trash Day, waving, getting the honks, probably waking up the rest of the neighborhood. But it is an exciting time, right? And for us, the fortunate piece about having a 6 and 4-year-old is seeing the world through their eyes right now is still pretty magical.
Absolutely. So this might be the $1 million question that we've had over the last several weeks, which is from Justin in the South Valley. Justin would like to know how you're making sure to stay stocked up on your food and supplies for the home.
Yeah, that's a great question. And as many of you know and have heard the mayor talk about, one of the things we're emphasizing right now is encouraging folks who are getting out there to grocery shop to really think about what do you need for the next week or two, but not feeling like you need to stock up for months and months on end. That if we can keep those regular patterns, it gives time to sort of folks to restock the shelves and we'll be in good shape. The other piece that we're following at our house, right, is really designating just one person in the family to go get groceries. I will say for us always, Tim has been our grocery shopper in the family, and that remains true now. The hard switch for us is that this used to be part of our weekend routine. He would take the kids out grocery shopping every Sunday afternoon. And so while they miss being able to do that together, we're so appreciative of folks following these guidelines, shifting their normal schedules, getting into a new routine and new habits that are going to help folks maintain that physical distance in the stores, help our grocery store workers who are working around the clock to make this all work for our cities and to keep everyone safe and healthy. So I will say, as someone who never really has to do the grocery shopping for our family, I'm quite happy to be delegating that task to Tim at the moment as well.
That's actually really exceptional. Yeah. So, the mayor's mentioned this several times about social distancing versus physical distancing, right? Really what we're talking about is physical distancing, and we really want people to stay connected, like you said, virtually, cousins reading to the kiddos or FaceTiming with grandparents and such. So this next question is around staying connected. Our kids are begging to go to Grandma and Grandpa's house. How are you explaining that we can't go visit family and friends?
Yeah. Oh, man. This one is hard. I mean, we are like a lot of families here in Albuquerque in New Mexico, in that for our kids, their grandparents, my parents, Tim's parents, my aunt and uncle, my brother's family, their cousins, are all part of their daily and weekly life. That they're over at the house for meals, they're helping with pickups from schools, they're part of adventures on the weekends. And so that this shift, right, of not being able to have physical contact with those family members while still being able to find new ways to check in has been hard. I think for us, in terms of explaining it to the kids, and again, just acknowledging that for all different circumstances and different ages of kids, this will look differently. I also sort of have to laugh at myself that there's been times when we thought we were doing a great job explaining this, and then whether the kids got it or not were different. But for us, there are sort of 3 prongs to this process. The first is just being able to describe to them how important this physical distance is right now to prevent the spread of germs. We're lucky that their teachers at school and Jack's preschool teachers have done a phenomenal job teaching the kids about the spread of germs. So this was a piece that I think they really understood well about what it means to do that as a way to keep folks healthy. But for us, it's sort of going beyond, right, that sort of scientific explanation for why we're doing it and helping to frame it for them. Really as an act of love, that this is part of the way we show up and take care of each other, the way we show up and take care of our direct family members, the way we get to show up and take care of our first responders and healthcare providers, the way we show up and take care of neighbors at this moment. So a lot of the conversations in our house have been about shifting the way love shows up. Right, so some of that's through phone calls, it's texts, it's making silly videos for grandparents and family members, it's writing letters to teachers that they miss. And I think that the next important piece of it for us has been also really talking to the kids that it's okay to feel sad about this. Like, this part is really, really hard. It's really hard for families. I get choked up thinking about them now, but the piece that we've tried to live and demonstrate for the kids is, let's name it. Let's talk about when we're feeling sad, talk about when we feel these emotions. We can talk about it with each other. It's great. Just this morning, our kids had a great talk with my parents where they both said, oh man, we really miss each other. This is really hard. We're gonna get through this though, and we're all gonna hug each other again soon.
I appreciate that so much. And I have a 3-year-old as well, and she's been asking very similar questions, why she can't go see Nana and Grandpa and other folks during this time who she usually spends an incredible amount of time with. So I appreciate you sharing those sentiments. It's really important that we continue to have those real conversations with our kiddos and to try to explain to the best of our ability what is going on in this world that isn't going to completely scare them or make them paranoid. So I appreciate your candid response to that. And I'm going to shift gears a little bit. This question comes from someone who is worried about their parents. Her parents only speak Spanish, and she was wondering if there are any resources that she can share with them that don't need to be translated to Spanish. So the question is, mis padres solo hablan español y me preguntaba si hay recursos que puedes compartir que no necesiten ser traducidos.
Yeah, well, this is a great question. And so first off, what I want to mention is that the team here at the City of Albuquerque believes really strongly in language access for all. And what that means right now is a couple of things. First off, that if you go to the cabq.gov website, that we've got resources available there specifically on COVID-19 in a number of different languages that you can access, share with family members, friends, neighbors who may be looking for resources in a different language. We also have a Spanish Twitter account, and it's at Alcalde Keller. And then want folks to know, right, we keep talking about both the website and 311 as critical resources for getting information. Want folks to know, anytime you call 311, you can ask to speak to somebody in Spanish there, and they'll be able to get you to someone who can help with that as well. Finally, I just wanted to mention that the mayor has ensured that all frontline city employees can access a live translation service in particular, so that anyone they are helping or assisting in the next couple of weeks has that information in the language that they need it. And so I guess also, bueno, para tus padres, solamente queremos decir de nuevo que el acceso de información en su propio idioma es muy, muy importante para el alcalde y para la ciudad. Y por eso tenemos información en español y también en otros idiomas en el sitio cabq.gov. También tenemos un Twitter que es Alcalde Keller, que sale en español. Y también para personas buscando cualquier información en la ciudad, puede hacer una llamada a 311 y pedirle a alguien que habla español para ayudarle. Por fin, también queremos decir que todos los empleados de la ciudad que están trabajando muy duro en ese momento tienen acceso a un servicio de traducción para que puedan apoyar y ayudar personas que necesitan información o que necesitan comunicar en otro idioma.
Gracias, Primera Dama. And I think that concludes the number of questions we'll be able to take today. Again, so grateful for your time and your insights. It's always such a pleasure to get to see you from 6 feet away even. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to close by saying thank you. Thanks for everyone who was tuning in this afternoon. We know you can't necessarily go anywhere, but maybe there were other things you could have done with your time. And really, again, just to say thank you so much for stepping up by staying home. This physical distance piece, again, just to reiterate, is an incredible act of service. It's an incredible act of solidarity. It's an incredible act of love. And so I will just say, continue to be blown away, both I think evident in the questions that folks brought to this conversation, but also in what we're seeing every day. Feel truly confident that we as an entire community are going to meet this moment with the strength, with the compassion, with the resilience that we have always been known for. And it means that we are gonna get through the next couple of very, very hard weeks together, and we're gonna come out on the other end as the amazing community we are and a stronger community for it. Thank you.
Thank you.